Hi, everyone. Welcome to the virtual Meet the Grad Alumni and Industrial Panel for Chemical, Mechanical, Engineering, Technology, and Aviation. My name is David Brita. I think we are all accustomed with each other. As you know, I'm a professor in the Mechanical Engineering Department at Mohawk College. Pleasure to be your host and moderator for today's mechanical engineering discussion. Thanks for all the students and the recent graduates that join us today virtually. We hope you enjoy hearing about the career journeys of our panelists and their thoughts and how job seekers can engage in the current marketplace. So before we begin, I'd like to introduce our alumni panelists in no particular order. Mo Amar. Mo, you want to say hi?
Hello, everyone.
Is a graduate of our mechanical engineering technology program, works for Keep Right Refrigeration as a manufacturing and maintenance engineer, and also responsible for hiring and training new co-op students. And Kevin Ford, if you want to say hi, Kevin, if you have a chance there.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Great.
He's our keynote speaker. You may have just heard from him in today's event. He graduated from mechanical engineering way back in 1975. He's been a very, very successful serial entrepreneur and works on reserving the offshoring of jobs to other countries. Kevin is also a Mohawk College alumni of Distinction Award recipient. And our third panelist is Harry Sandal. Harry, you want to say hi?
Hi, everyone.
Who graduated from Mechanical Engineering Technology program in 2018. Harry joins us from L3 Harris Westcam, an aerospace and defense company in Burlington, where he works as a manufacturing supervisor. Big thank you to all our panelists for taking the time today, for sharing all your experiences with our students. And what I'd like to do is just ask our panelists a few specific questions before we get into some opening the floor up to the people that are attending the meeting. So I'm just going to start. I'll start in the same order as I introduced people. So Mo, possibly you could tell us just very, very briefly. I know that you've been out in the workforce for quite a while, but a little bit about your career path.
So basically, I'm going to go back a little bit in history. I started with doing aviation engineering back in Syria. This is my home country, but then I moved to Canada, started over and started doing mechanical engineering here, where I joined Mohawk College back in 2014. In 2017, I started working for Keep Right as my second co-op, and I stayed there on board, and they liked me, and I stayed on board after that. So I kept doing my co-op terms, or a part-timer, if you want to call it that, as I'm finishing my schooling there up to last year. But at the same time, I was involved more than just a co-op student there. I was pretty much had my hands in all departments because just tried to learn something new. And right now I'm fully hired right after I graduated from Mohawk College last year in 2020. And now I'm more involved in between manufacturing, maintenance, and production perspective in the company. And also I'm responsible now, or I've been responsible for hiring and training co-op students in our company.
Thanks, Mo. Kevin, maybe you could just tell us a little bit about your onshoring ventures.
Okay, so Onshoring Ventures is a give back to the community project. There are two thrusts to it. There's one thrust, which is kind of the pundit idea, where we're looking around for opportunities where, or a set of criteria that you can put against your idea for a business. And what we want to do is make sure you pick the fights you can win with respect to someone stealing your idea and running it offshore versus ones that are really difficult offshore. So we have a checklist for that, and we spent some time spreading that around as a bit of a pundit thing. The other thing is, although we have a bunch of theories, you really should walk the walk before you talk the talk. And so I run a small low volume manufacturing shop out of a 1,500 square foot garage. There we have CNC machines, vacuum molding machines, welders, full working and sheet metal workshop. And so small businesses who want to develop prototypes or low volumes of products come to us, and we we make very, very small production runs, and we can afford to do that because it's all CAD and it's all computer controlled.
Very good. Thank you very much. And Harry, you're at L3 Harris Westcam. Maybe you can tell us a little bit about how you ended up there.
Yeah, so similar to Mo, actually, my one-year co-op through my course at Mohawk was with Westcam in a test and integration role. So out of school, they actually hired me full-time immediately into that role. And then after a little bit of time in that role on the afternoon shift, they felt that I was ready to move up into a lead hand role. So I kind of led the integration team for a little while. And then after about a half year in that, I actually got the opportunity to take a temporary supervisor role for a few months. So I took that on, and just due to my performance and due to a couple things that happened in the business, there was an open spot for a supervisor. And I managed to land a full-time role as a supervisor in manufacturing.
Awesome. That's fabulous. So some really good success stories from our Mohawk Mechanical Engineering Technology grads. So I'm just going to go through the panel again, and I'm going to start this time with Harry, and I'm going to ask you, we all know that through the college and through our engineering education, we get a fairly high level of technical capabilities. But what do you think that some of the soft skills have helped you in your profession?
I think a couple of soft skills that I actually developed at Mohawk was learning how to work well with other people, and also learning kind of how to lead a team. So, Dave, I'll actually pick the project I did with your class in machine design. Through our gearbox project, I actually learned a lot about working well as a team, working with the guys I was working with, and I kind of took charge of the team to a degree and kind of decided what we were going to do, and we all worked according to our strengths and things like that. And just learning how to work with those guys well and learning how to lead that team has really helped me in my career so far.
Oh, great. Okay. And Kevin, how about you? You deal with a lot of people of various backgrounds, I would imagine. What sort of soft skills in your profession do you think have really helped you succeed in your endeavors?
Well, this is something that's done me some good, and I've encouraged all of my my employees to do as well. And the message is, it does the company no good if you have the right answer, but you can't convince the rest of us to move in the correct direction. And so, because we just don't understand it, and or haven't spent the time that you have in studying the problem. So communication skills, I'll call them almost sales skills of your idea, are important no matter where you are in an organization. And so you should practice that. And I had some people have even gone to Toastmasters and learned not to freak out when they're in front of 5 of their peers and trying to convince them that that they have the right answer. So the ability to persuade others is very important.
Thank you very much. And Mo.
I can agree more with what both Harry and Kevin said. I would say being a team leader is one thing, because I also was the team leader for the machine design course, and same as with the CNC. And also I would say communication is the main key for literally everything. Doesn't matter what the project is or what the assignment or the task is. Communication always works well for everybody. Like even if you have a poor skills in that perspective, but if you communicate better with everybody else, that will make you much better person, and listening to everybody else at the same time. And also being patient. Somebody thinks it's an easy thing to do, but it's not when you have multiple tasks to do and multiple projects going through. And if you're not patient and you not know exactly where you're heading at the end of this direction, that will mess you up. And I learned that from Mohawk College, because we're doing too many assignments and too many courses going on at the same time. And plus we have an outside life, outside schooling at the same time, either part-time job or a family or fiance or girlfriend and such. So that time managing as well with everything is something, is soft skills that I have learned from Mohawk College.
Great. Okay, so I'm going to stay with you, Mo, and I'm going to ask you this one. I know you're you're at Keep, right? And you do a lot of HVAC stuff there, I'm assuming. Um, what do you see as the coming trends in your sector of that area?
So refrigeration is unique and it's part of literally daily life, almost a basic foundation for everything right now, because everyone wants something fast, and it all depends on what do you call the frozen food and such. And the way the whole thing is going right now we have a new generation is gonna launch shortly, actually, and everything trying to do it remotely, remote access, remote everything, paperless. Everything depends on technology, and the new trend I would say for the whole thing is trying to promote technology to where the service tech doesn't have to be on site right away. You can just do it from wherever you are around the world, and you gain access to the unit or the whole system, and you know exactly where the issue is.
Very good. And Kevin, maybe I can ask you the same thing. What sort of trends have you been seeing with the variation in sort of products and the designs that you've been dealing with?
Um, well, a lot of my career has been in software, but right now I'm more focused on manufacturing jobs. And so one of the things that really excites me is that we have a culture of kids coming up who have spent a tremendous amount of time on 3D CAD systems in their homes, and who have been playing with 3D printers. And those skills and that ability to make G code and visualize products are immediately applicable to their little 3D printer. But if you just change out the printer for another device, in this case, maybe a 4 foot by 8 foot CNC machine, they can make that 2-inch thing now 8 feet in size, and with not a lot of difference in what they're doing. And that to me is very exciting, because I think we're going to see a lot of products that could never be made before, because they just weren't cost effective when you're only making dozens or hundreds as opposed to tens of thousands.
So some good transferability of skills, right?
And so we are going to see products made that people have always wanted but just weren't available. And everywhere you look, there are opportunities for those low volume things, and they are resistant to being offshore. So it's a very exciting time there.
Thank you. And Harry, you're doing. I'm assuming at L3 you have some military contracts and things. What sort of trends are you seeing in the technologies that you're using in your sector?
So the technology in our sector are I've noticed generally moving a lot more toward being almost electromechanical. So they're bringing a lot more electrical into it, and little components, little CCAs, circuit card assemblies, things of that nature. They're bringing a lot more of that into it. So it's you're in a mechanical role, you're expected to know a lot more about electrical, or hope to know a lot more about electrical. So I think for the few candidates we've had in recently, a big plus for them has been even just a basic understanding of electrical concepts, and having a little bit of maybe even electrical in their hobbies, like Kevin mentioned with 3D printing and things like that. It's really helped them understand our products and our technology here at WestCam.
Okay, so almost like a multidisciplinary thing.
Yeah,
To a degree, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, very good. Okay, so sticking with Harry, when we look for, like, new graduates, when they're looking for work in the field, like when you were looking around, I know that you were very lucky that your full-time position was a result of your co-op. Maybe some of your colleagues or something, maybe people and places to turn to look for work in the mechanical technology field.
So for me, I found, like you say, my co-op was really my way in. So I would really urge anyone that's coming up on a co-op position to really treat that as though you're going after an actual job, because a lot of the time, if there's a role open after you've done your co-op, they're going to take you on, especially if your performance was good. So it's a really good way to get in with a company and show what you can do. But outside of that, I would say, honestly, sites like Indeed, Monster, we post our roles on those sites. And also companies, if you're looking at a specific company that you'd like to work at, a lot of companies tend to have a portal online somewhere too with all the roles that they've got available at the time. So just going online and taking a look around on their websites, you can find a lot of positions open as well.
Very good. And Mamoon, what about you?
So basically, right now I've had the 3 students so far as a co-op, 2 from Mohawk College and 1 from McMaster. And I can tell you that one of the students, I'm not going to say names, of course, I didn't see his initiative toward the work. His work ethic was super low. So like right away, we know that that guy is not coming back in here. And one guy for sure will hire back if he was applying later on. Absolutely no problem there, because we see him, we see how he works, we see how he's like going through the whole task or perspective of generating or improving his skills around there. That from what I have seen myself. And from the other thing is, like, for example, right now, our plant manager, purchasing manager, my colleagues and a few other guys are all graduated from Mohawk College, whether back in the 80s or 90s or early 2000s. And they're all, and 2 of them actually, they were co-op students at the same time, and they're all hired, will get hired right on. And I was gonna say also is, doesn't matter what field you think you're gonna go through, you don't have to know it all, just accept it and figure it out later. So if it's like you don't like this job or you might not be a good fit for you, it doesn't matter, just try it, you'll figure it out later. If you say no from now, you're gonna get lost later.
Okay, so we can see that co-op plays a major role in determining, or your performance during co-op determines a major role in your success in the future if you really are determined to get a position in that particular company. How about you, Kevin? What are you seeing for resources for students to find placements and places to turn?
Well, when I do interviews for people, I really find an interview is a poor tool, because, you know, it's kind of an artificial situation, and references, they're not really good to rely upon either, because they're self-selected. And so I look for examples of what they have done beyond the standard education program. So in this particular case, I want to resonate off of what Harry just said, and that is, someone comes to me, and if they have on their resume something like, I did an Arduino project, where they're showing a personal interest in making a mechanical device, giving it a bunch of electronics to make it move, and then programming software to make it accomplish things. That's the entire process of product development for even prototypes and even many finished products. And if someone has self-identified themselves as having interest in those areas, then there's no amount of money that can make someone interested in something that doesn't turn their crank. These are the kind of indicators that I look for, not the specific skills they have today, because they're going to change, but the attitude and willingness to learn and good work ethics. So show me examples of that, even if it was, you know, I was the leader of my scout troop. That's an indicator of the future of what kind of person they are.
Perfect. Okay. So I'm going to stick with you, Kevin, for this last one. And this might be a difficult question. And we have to keep it to one piece of advice or knowledge you wish you had known when you first graduated from Mohawk. That's a tough one, I know.
Oh boy. That's very long.
You and I both, it's been a long time. Because I'm also a Mohawk alumni.
Wonderful. I'm having trouble with this because the answer that I would give and was personal experience to me way back when is no longer true, much to the betterment of it. I'll give you an example. When I went to DeFasco in my first job, I was the first technologist person they had there, and they didn't know what to do with me. Every new employee had a year-long program, and so they had this program for graduate engineers where they would work in a place for a while, for 4 months, and then they would move on. They do that 3 or 4 times, and then at the end of it, they had this process of which did you like and did they like you, and if there's a and then if there's a meeting of minds, then you would go back and work in one of those areas. But as a technologist, they didn't really have a program because I was the first one. So they just stuck me in. When an engineer left, they stuck me in, and I did the job. And then when I left, they put another engineer in there. And what the surprise came back was that they liked me better than the engineers because I actually had practical experience and training, whereas the engineers were really good at calculus. The personnel department said, didn't really know where to place me at the end of it. My manager said, yeah, good or better than engineers. The personnel department decided to give me a pay scale closer to a draftsman than an engineer. And when you look at that and you look at 45 years of being that much less than an engineer, if you look at the area under the curve at that time, in 1975, that was $1.4 million in 1975 dollars. It was a no-brainer. I went back to school and got a piece of paper.
Yeah.
Didn't need it, but I got it. Today, the world has changed much to the benefit of the college programs, and there's much more respect for your graduates than we've seen.
Yeah, I can attest to that too, because I went through the same process, Kevin. Exactly the same process. So Harry, how about you? What's one thing?
I can't really think of anything that I wish I'd known, but one thing that I'm happy that I was always told as a kid, and I know it's something that everyone says, is hard work pays off. And whether it's through a co-op or whether it's through a brand new role or whatever it is, putting your all in and really trying, and even if it's in a role that, you're doing something that you're not really used to doing or something that you're kind of not super confident about, if you really put in your best and you put in your best work, your manager and your boss, your employer is going to notice that, and it'll pay off in the long run.
Very good. And Mo?
I was gonna share a little story here. So as I was doing my co-op terms, I kind of pushed myself to learn about the CNC machine that we have there for shear and punch sheet metal wise, which generate G code as well. And that now led me to have my own 3D printers at home, actually, and CNC machine. And also right now for work, I'm trying to build a homemade plasma, 3D plasma cutter for sheet metal as well. So I would say the only thing I wish I had learned is more in the electrical perspective before the mechanical, because I had that time, but I wasn't focused enough on electrical components and that study. Actually, I'm thinking now is to get another degree in electrical. So that's to combine the whole thing together.
Oh, very good. Very good. I'm going to interject one thing as the moderator. I don't know if I'm allowed to, but I'm going to anyway. And what I learned and wish I had known when I first left Mohawk College was that the highest paying job is not always the most satisfactory job.
I agree with you.
Lynn is giving me the sign that we should be wrapping up, and I'm going to turn the floor over to her now.
Thank you so much. Thank you, David, for moderating our panel today. And of course, thank you so much, Mo, Harry, and Kevin for spending your evening with us and sharing your career experiences. I know it's been super valuable and we've had lots of great discussions. So thank you again. And of course, thank you to our students joining us and for all your great questions. So we do need to wrap up as we near 5:30. So the next portion of the event is the employer booth. So along the right side of your screen in the event portal, you will see the option to click on various employers that are with us tonight, including L3 Harris Westcam. So we have 8 employers that have booths, so feel free to pop in and say hello and build some new connections. So thank you so much, everyone, again, and I hope you enjoy the rest of your evening.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks very much, everyone.
Gentlemen. Been a pleasure to see you again. And nice to meet you, Kevin.
Great meeting you. Thank you.
Take care, guys.
See you, David. Thanks, Len.
Thank you so much.
Thanks,
Take
Lynn.
care. Bye.
How do you think